Welcome to the RPGamer Adventure Corner, Never 7, The End of Infinity. This is read by Sperumbreast, written by Dalandar, and the video is edited by Airfrog. In this edition of the column, we take a look at Mages Inc. Never 7, The End of Infinity on Nintendo Switch. Painting them with a broad brush to a newcomer, visual novel seemed to break down into two types of stories. Philosophical science fiction or fantasy that really get the player thinking, often incorporating elements of horror or a romantic tale in which the protagonist falls in love with one of the many options presented while getting to know the character better. Never 7, The End of Infinity feel like an early progenitor of the former group, but still stays true to a slice of life romance at heart. The results flow well, though it has moments where things feel too safe. As an early work of acclaimed science fiction visual novelist Kataro Oshikoshi, it is more than just a curiosity with interesting storytelling and character development to be found. The first title in the Infinity series, now finally brought over with an official translation, should be played before ever 17 Out of Infinity, which it is being released alongside. Makoto Ishihara is a typical lazy university student who hasn't been to many classes in his psychology courses. When he finds out there's a seminar retreat with a few classmates that could make up for the missed time and allow him to pass, he jumps on the opportunity. The seminar retreat is a bonding exercise where the group gets to enjoy the cabin that the university owns on an island. Joining Makoto are Yukihiko, a constant rival and rich playboy who seems fake to Makoto, Haruka, a quiet and mysterious girl, and Yuka, a designated leader for the retreat. Through happenstance, the group also befriends Saki, a brash girl who knows Yuka and is vacationing at her family's villa nearby, and the sister Izumi and Kurumi, who run a local cafe on the beach. Each of the characters has a moment of heartfelt poignancy, comedy, and the occasional facepalm situation. Depending on the player's choice, Makoto connects with one of the girls over time, and some feel more natural than others. One of the romantic interests acts much younger than they are, while another involves the protagonist thinking as they are having a father-daughter relationship briefly before feelings head in a romantic direction instead. Never 7, The End of Infinity still handle these situations with grace, as each of the girls brings out a different aspect of Makoto's personality. Whoever is chosen to get closer with, the same basic outline happens. Spend time with a girl and fall in love, but there is no happy end to be found at first. After Makoto witnesses this unhappy outcome, he suddenly wakes up in his bed where it happened to be the first day of the retreat again. Makoto reacts to this in a few different ways depending on the route, but ultimately lands on the same conclusion. He has to save his love. Armed with the knowledge of prior events, there's a balancing act that must be maintained to still fall in love with the same person while also trying to alter events enough to prevent tragedy. This basic outline has a lot of mileage, as every story plays out rather differently and brings in a new piece to the puzzle for the player to figure out how everything connects. However, some things are still left vague, even after experiencing every ending. Getting close to each of the interesting girls in Never 7, The End of Infinity can be addicting, as figuring out their guarded secret open up information that make the science fiction side of things connect easier. Almost every choice that Makoto makes sends him down another road to a different ending. Luckily, navigating through the other choice after playing through once is easy enough with the ND skip feature to zoom through the dialogue until reaching the next decision. There are underlying points system that the game keeps track of to see which girl Makoto get to fall in love with, while in the second half there are set decisions that decide on a good or bad ending. More routes become available based on how many endings have been obtained. Plenty of little variation can be found in shared conversation over the timeline, but every route has this group become friends with Makoto falling in love with one of them. Makoto himself has a few different personality traits that are brought out best with each girl. Whether it is playful, nurturing, submissive, thoughtful, or caring nature, there's always something taking in the forefront that connects Makoto to each of his love interests. Each aspect is believable, and the inner dialogue that Makoto struggles with while deciding what to say next, both in dialogue choice and just his personality, make the stories feel natural. What shines through in every route is Makoto's loyalty, playfulness, strength, and desire to protect, making him a protagonist worth rooting for, even though he can also be thick-headed and lazy at times. The event of Never Seven, the End of Infinity, constantly show Makoto struggling and generally succeeding and being a better person, all because of the seminar retreat. The game featured the usual visual novel format of different static backgrounds that are cycled between depending on where Makoto is, while the person he's speaking with appear in the foreground with a few different poses, facial animation and clothing style depending on the situation. All of the character design and backgrounds evoke an early 2000 anime style that is pleasantly nostalgic. The user interface for the dialogue boxes when having to make a choice are very easy on the eyes. However, the real heavy presentational lifting come from the great soundtrack by Takeshi Abo. Every girl gets her own vastly different theme that plays when Makoto is focusing on them, and make fine use of the piano to capture the vibe that each character gives off. This is only heightened by the excellent Japanese vocal talent who deliver the dialogue with conviction. 7, The End of Infinity plays a delicate balancing act between maintaining the comedic and tragic elements of its stories. Each route contains little things that raise the corner of the mouth, as well as tugging of heartstrings. There's nothing groundbreaking in the behavior of any of the characters in this story, but that in itself lends it to a more natural setting that is fun to experience. Piecing together the puzzle on how to save Makoto's loves never get old, and before long players fondly remember each of the characters and how they change Makoto for the better. The science fiction is rather rudimentary in the title, but serves as an easy way to dip their toes into the genre. Visual novel veterans may find the love stories and underlying science fiction a bit too basic at times, but the game works as a perfect entry point into both sides of a typical visual novel quen. Never Seven, The End of Infinity worked best when viewed from an entry-level standpoint. There are too many surprises to be had in his presentation, but as the title that mixes both slice of life romance and thoughtful science fiction, it is a lot of fun. The soundtrack, character design, story roots, and vocal performance provide a lot of heart and appeal. It certainly evokes the feeling of a summer camp adventure with some messy execution and a sense that many of the events feel typical. But in the end, it's still a memory that can be looked back on with a smile. For more detail, hit up the link in the description below. For more video content, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitch for daily stream of your favorite RPGs. Join on the discussion at RPGamer.com on Discord. And for the latest in the RPG news, head over to RPGamer.com.